Hello, Donna here. Welcome to my channel. Speaking to Solutions. There's my Kelby. Welcome. So, I just made a 15-minute video that cut out and ended abruptly, and then I tried editing, and sorry, no editor here. I guess one day I'll have a clear phone and I can use an app and make them a little better. But hopefully, I'm just here to share some meaning in my content, and hopefully that comes across. So, what I wanted to talk about today, I had so many things, and obviously, it's going to have to be shorter, and I can't share them all, but they will come in other videos once I offload this one. But so I'm just going to stick with what forgiveness means and what it doesn't mean. So I looked up the meaning of forgiveness, and the standard English version is to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense. Stop feeling angry or resentful to someone for an offense. It was the first meaning, and the second meaning was to cancel a debt, which I think the debt is the feelings of anger and resentfulness. I mean, I have this whole connection to the stages of grief and with forgiveness. Like, I looked up the meaning of the word resentful is it includes anger, disappointment, bitterness, and hard feelings. And to resent is to wish something never happened, which I can understand, like wishing, no one, anger comes up around feelings of, when we tap into the truth of having been abused. Anger is a natural and just feeling. It's when we get stuck in any of these things, like the 5 stages of grief, which I feel, so it's anger, denial, bargaining, and sadness. And then the last is acceptance. I feel that's where forgiveness lives. And, I think it's about accepting, it's transitioning through the anger and the resentfulness. Wishing something didn't happen ties right into denial, So I really feel it's like unforgiveness is being stuck in the stages of grief. And it really, when we come to acceptance, which means accepting the reality of what happened, gosh, I really want to share. Maybe I will be able to. We'll see if it cuts me off. I have so much to share. and I want to show how it like connects to the court system, even, and to an energetic law. But I'll do that in the next one because that'll be too deep. But what it is not. I'm sorry. So I wasn't finished. So the Greek meaning was letting go or to release. Hebrew meaning was to pardon. I also had read that it was like forgiving a debt. And aromatic means to return to its original state. I believe that's talking about you. Because in the other one I talked about like how some connections can never return to their original state because our nervous system remembers the abuse. If there was enough abuse that happened, we can dispense things out of our nervous system. It would take a lot of work, a lot of conscious aware work on both partners, and to be able to come to like a really return to original state. But I think, you can do that. Look at my baby. You can do that for yourself. I think, I've learned about like when we've lived through abuse, we can put on what's called our protective mask, which covers up our authentic self. I think when we're looking at like a biblical term, like an aromatic spiritual term about returning to its original state, maybe a state you've never lived in, being your authentic self, outside of your traumatized self, because once trauma happens, those wounds are there, and overcoming them and, like calming down that protective self and allowing more and more of that authentic person you were meant to be, because you weren't meant to be abused, the person you were meant to be before the abuse. This is what forgiveness is about. What it is not, I want to keep like drilling this in. Staying with someone that abuses you. That is not about forgiveness. That is called a trauma bond, and that is what happens when, when the nervous system makes those choices for safety. Well, they're in a relationship It can even happen in a work environment. It happens most often in relationships that you can't easily extract yourself from. So, you know, marriages, childhood relationships, and oftentimes employment, because I think people don't talk about that enough. There can be a lot of abuse can happen in the workplace environment. And it's not something that everyone can easily extract themselves from, because they might live from paycheck to paycheck and, just quitting that job without another job. And, sometimes it can be hard to find a replacement job. So, it's trauma bonding is and it also happens because when there's, that intermittent reinforcement, it's a mind game. It is a mind game about where someone gives you breadcrumbs, and because you had that intermittent reinforcement, even never getting a breadcrumb, you could stay in weight. I've talked about it before in videos, um, like with rats who have the same type of neurosynapses. I just talked to the neuroscience department guy about this. Like the same type of synapses and behavior as humans. So they can study their brains and their behaviors and have it translate or correlate to how a human would behave. But, I've talked about the study before about, if you get like kindness intermittently, even if it never comes again, your brain will wait forever for it if you stay in that trauma bond. It's a hard thing to get out of. Okay, what forgiveness is not? Taking accountability for their choice to abuse you. That is denial. That's another part, again, of getting stuck in the stages of grief. Taking accountability for someone else's actions is not forgiveness. That is you being a scapegoat. That is denial. That is not forgiveness. Making excuses for their behavior, for their abusive behavior. I actually found myself doing it in the last video. This is going to cut off again, so I'm just going to end here soon. Making excuses for abusive behavior. That is bargaining. Again, going back to that grief process, that is one of the stages of grief. And we do it often. It's a way that the brain is trying to understand and make sense of what happened to you, because it's nonsensical. That was one of my favorite affirmations I gave myself was, Donna, you can't make sense out of nonsense. Like understanding is a deep well, those excuses that I talked about yesterday in seeking truth, like saying that making excuses for someone's abusive behavior is just the brain trying to bargain. It's trying to buy time to get to acceptance, where accepting a hard reality. It's hard to accept that you've been abused, especially by someone that you love, So that is just, if you just keep doing it, you're stuck in the bargaining process of grief. And I really feel that the last stage of the grieving process is acceptance. And I believe that's where forgiveness lives. It's accepting the reality of what happened. Okay, I'm just going to end with, hopefully it'll let me, why forgiveness is for you. What do you need to forgive in order to have that debt paid? Forgiveness means letting go of the anger, letting go of the bargaining and the denial, letting go of those things, letting go of wishing it never happened, coming to acceptance and having that debt paid. That debt is paid. That wound that someone inflicted, they are accountable for that, no doubt. When someone abuses you and creates a wound, they are accountable for that. But, okay, so the first step that you need to forgive is acknowledgement of truth that a wrongdoing happened. The acknowledgement. This is why forgiveness is for you. Do you think you're going to get acknowledgement from an abuser that a wrongdoing happened? Most likely no. Most likely no. Sometimes they will, and it's usually to just suck you back in to abuse you again. Been through the cycle many, many times for many, many years. So, no, you're not likely to get them to acknowledge the truth of what happened. Can you force emotional accountability on anyone? Again, no. I cannot get someone to internally accept and let me energetically feel that they totally accept and are truthful and honest and take accountability for their hurtful behaviors. So I said, remember, these are my notes, the truth sets you free. When we hold someone in prison because we're holding them to this debt that they owe us, when we hold someone in prison, that takes our precious emotional resources. When a debt exists, we are the executioner of the debt. We carry it until it is paid. So if forgiveness means letting go of a debt, if we're not forgiving, we are holding that person in prison. We are taking our emotional resources, even if we're not consciously aware of it, unconsciously, we know in the back that person wounded me. I am holding this. I'm taking my precious emotional resources. When a debt exists, we are the executioner of the debt. We carry it until it's paid. We carry it until it's paid. This is why forgiveness is for us, because they will not take that accountability. So we are carrying it until it's paid. I say give it to more capable hands, which means Christ or karma or whatever you believe in. Again, it's stages. I understand. I'm not asking you to just auto take it and just hand it over. We go through these stages. We go through the anger. We go through the sadness. We go through the bargaining. Excuse the square figure. We go through the anger, the denial, until we get to the acceptance. It's a process. It's a process to let it soak in, to let reality seep in that someone abused you. It's not something anyone really wants to accept. And so that is the forgiveness, is the acknowledgement of the wrong. And again, that's why forgiveness is for you. You're most likely not going to get that from an abuser. And so we're accepting this. And so we're no longer holding them to prison. I am not going to hold someone captive in my emotional prison, hold them captive in prison for the wound they created in me when they are not capable of acknowledging it. They are not capable of seeing it. So why do I need to carry this around until they can get there? Because they may never, ever, ever get there. So I am accepting, acknowledging the pain that they caused, and I am releasing them. I am forgiving. I am letting go of it. Because, why? Because they most likely will never acknowledge it. So I'm acknowledging it for me. I'm acknowledging it for me, and I'm letting the debt go, and I'm letting the true person that can hold that person accountable, which is only them and their God. That's the only people that can truly hold them accountable for their behavior. And I'm letting go and letting God. I'm letting go and letting them do that. And again, it's a process. It's like that movie Shack about like the man grieving the murder of his daughter. I say it's like eating pie, not even one slice at a time, one bite at a time, and sometimes we have to go back and, eat more of that crap pie, until it's all gone, so it's just going through the process and allowing it. All right, there, let me finish. I'll just end there. So forgiveness is for you. It's so that you are not emotionally hanging on to this energetic prison that you're holding someone in. Let it go. It doesn't mean, again, forgiveness is not staying with them. Forgiveness is not blaming yourself for their actions. That is not forgiveness. Those are other things. All right, peace out. That's it.